Of course, legendary Clemson SID Tim Bourret joins us on the heels of the early signing period, on the heels of staff changes at Clemson, on the heels of a college soccer national championship. Tim, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Lots to talk about today on a Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, it certainly has. Certainly happy for Coach Noonan. And, kind of interesting parallels. The Clemson football program went 35 years in between national championships, and now the soccer team went 34 years in between championships. I guess we should look forward to a 2023 national championship in soccer if they're running true cycles. But yeah, I watched the games, the matches, and just terrific defense and scored when you need to. And George Marks guy, the goalie, was really terrific. Seeing as I talked to you today, he's getting his degree today, so he's had quite a week to be the defensive MVP of the Final Four and get his degree.
I tell you, for this Clemson Tiger soccer program, I mean, it is such a proud program, and to be able to add that third star to the banner, and just to kind of harken back to the days of Dr. I.M. Ibrahim and what was taking place at historic Riggs Field in the 1980s, I think really felt good. I've got friends who are former players, and I just know there's a lot of excitement and energy, and has been around this program since Coach Noonan, by the way, a Connecticut native, I know you like that, took over the program.
Yeah, that's right. I guess he coached at Brown before he came here, just like Trevor Adair did. But yeah, I was at the two national championships in 1984. In 1987, 1984 was in the Kingdom, and similar to this year, 1984, we actually had to beat the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds to win the national championship. And then in 1987, we just barely got in the tournament, and there were only 24 teams in the tournament that year, and we were actually the number 23 overall seed, and San Diego State was the number 24. And we played for the national championship, the two bottom seeds of the tournament. And
Wow.
That was a very special day in 1987 because, the Final Four was at Clemson. That year they decided to experiment and have a school host. And, we kept advancing, and we bid. And a very rare opportunity. I mean, think about it. How many times does a team have a chance to win a national championship on your campus? But that's what happened that weekend. We beat North Carolina and San Diego State.
Tim, I'm not like a great statistics numbers guy, but I've got to imagine the two bottom seeds in a 24-team tournament playing for the championship is not exactly in the best of odds of taking place. But that is wild. I didn't realize those were the bottom two seeds. Again, legendary Clemson SID Tim Bourret joining us here on the program. I know everybody's wanting to talk about the football staff changes and Tony Elliott and Brent Venables going to Oklahoma. Look, we'll get into that. But Tim, first, I do want to talk about this Clemson Tiger basketball team. Little bit of a slow start the other day, but man, in the second half, they got hot shooting the ball from downtown. Alex Hemingway's playing well. I mean, to me, I know everybody's been excited about Bo Collins and Dakari Collins, but I'm excited about what David Collins brings to the table for this basketball team. He just seems to be a heady playmaker that makes everybody around him better.
Yeah, very good there with the Collins triplets, I guess we have at Clemson this year. But yeah, David has really been a really good all-around player, especially his rebounding. He's been our leading rebounder. I think he's had 10, 9, and 8 rebounds in the last 3 games. This past game, he had 8 rebounds and 6 assists. So he led us in rebounding and assists in the game. And certainly the last 2 games have been great to see Alex Hemingway make some shots from the outside, double figures in back-to-back games. And he was our leading scorer in the win over Miami of Ohio with 17 points, which tied his career high. So, we're down 8 points with 10:50 to go in the game, and then we scored 38 points in the last 10 minutes of the game. that is quite an explosion. I hadn't seen a lot of Clemson teams get 38 points in just 10 minutes. But we hit 13 out of 14 shots or we scored on 13 out of 14 possessions at one point. So this team is, I really do think this is, excuse me, Brad's best offensive team. Maybe even better than the 17-18 team that went to the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament. Now that team was better defensively, especially with Thomas in the middle defensively. So yeah, we'll have to D it up a little bit more. But yeah, there hasn't been a single year when you say, well, Clemson's got to outscore people this year. That's hasn't been the case since Oliver Purnell has been here. But we shot 54% on threes against Miami and over 50% for the game overall.
Clemson will take on South Carolina Saturday night at 8:00 at Little John Coliseum. And then it's league play. And ironically, that'll begin at Virginia where, well, I know they started at Miami, but, the slate of league play games will begin at Virginia where Tony Elliott is now the new head coach. I know he's not coaching the bowl game. Actually exchanged some text messages with Tony Elliott yesterday. Excited for him. Feels like a good fit. And certainly, he said he wants to have the model program in all of college football. And it sounds like they're going to look a lot like Clemson from the standpoint of the things they value up in Charlottesville.
Well, yeah, he learned about the importance of your overall culture in a football program. So I'm sure he's taken a lot of the tenets that he learned under Dabo to the University of Virginia. But yeah, I think he's going to be a great fit up there. Really looking forward to see what he does. I think it's going to be a good transition between the coaching staff. So yeah, certainly looking forward to see what he does. I've also texted with him, and I hope to see him when we're up there on the 22nd. I don't know that you can. Signing day's over, so I'm sure he'll be very busy. But hoping to see him when we come up for basketball. It is a strange little quirk in the schedule that between the 22nd of December and January 4th, we have 3 games, and 2 of them are against Virginia.
Yeah,
one at home and 1 away. The only game in between that time is the Duke game at home. So yeah, going to be a tough stretch. Let's be honest. We have really struggled with Virginia the last few years. Of course, a lot of teams have struggled with them, but they seem to be a little bit less effective defensively than they've been here in recent years. So, hopefully we can go up there and steal one.
It's funny you mentioned that little scheduling quirk because I'm like you. I looked at the schedule when it came out and I thought this has to be a typo. Tim, we do have computers. I just feel like something like that's avoidable. I don't know. I've never had the schedule for an entire league, so I guess it is what it is. Tim Bourret with us here on the program today. All right, let's talk about the other in the room, Brent Venables in Oklahoma. Look, that's a perfect fit for him. Nobody's going to deny that fact. Just being the former defensive coordinator there, it's a huge program. It's a program that's perennially on the verge of being in the college football playoff, much like Clemson. But that's a big vacancy over there in the defensive room. And a name very few people knew, Wesley Goodwin, is now the defensive coordinator at Clemson, along with co-defensive coordinator Mickey Cotton. First off, let's talk about Brent Venables and his fit at Oklahoma, Tim, and then we'll jump back into the most, I think, shocking hire, maybe outside of when Clemson hired Dabo Swinney to be the head coach, possibly in Clemson sports history.
Yeah. So yeah, I do think it's a perfect fit for Venables. And, if you saw a video that Oklahoma sent out of all the people there to welcome him at the airport, and you can tell that he was certainly highly respected when he was there before. And so I think that was a perfect fit for him and probably for the University of Oklahoma. Oklahoma has really had success in taking guys who are assistants and making them the head coach. It is interesting how that has varied across the country. My alma mater, Notre Dame, does not have a good track record with elevating assistants or taking coaches who were not previously head coaches before. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out with Coach Freeman. But yeah, I think that was a great move for Brant. He's been very patient. We were so lucky to have him for as long as we have had him. And I tweeted when he left that he was the greatest assistant coach in any sport in Clemson history, and or he was the most significant. And I certainly feel that way.
I do not disagree at all. And I think that's what makes this next move so interesting. And it is incredible to talk about. And I'm not saying that people inside the program did not know who Wesley Goodwin was. But Brent, but Tim, if you had put a lineup of guys in their photos and said, which one of these guys is a Clemson staffer, I don't think people could have picked Wesley Goodwin ahead of 3 or 4 days ago. I mean, I think that's how unknown he was to most people. What do you know about Clemson's new defensive coordinator? And when were you first aware? I know he's been around the program, but when were you first aware that, hey, there might be this gem sitting there defensively that very few people know about helping out Brent Venables?
Yeah, if you talk to those assistant coaches, anybody on the football staff, particularly Woody McCorvey, who has known Wesley since he was a grad assistant at Mississippi State, and Woody was at Mississippi State. They talk about how he's got like a photographic mind and is this great X's and O's guy, and he has a sixth sense about watching film of the opposition and knowing what they're going to do offensively, and previously helping with preparation for Brent, and everybody told me that if we didn't keep him, Brent was going to take him obviously to the University of Oklahoma. So but yeah, you talked to happened to talk to Woody McCorvey yesterday about him, and when he first came to Mississippi State, Sylvester Croom, that out of the blue Wesley came to him interested in helping out with the football office. He actually was working in the baseball department with Coach Polk at Mississippi State at the time. And so like his second or third day, the defensive coordinator, I think it might have been Ellis Johnson.
Yeah, I had Ellis on
at the time. Yeah. And then, he put him on some project, and he did this terrific scouting job or whatever. And they brought it to Coach Croom, and Coach Croom said, "Who in the world did this?" And meaning from a positive standpoint.
Right.
And he said, we need to hire this guy or make sure we keep him. And then when Woody came here to join Dabo, he told Dabo about him, and so he really impressed all the other coaches with things that he was doing. So and then when he went to work with Bruce Arians in the Cardinals, Woody dropped by to see Arians, who he had worked with at Alabama. They were close friends, and Coach Arians said, this guy is unbelievable, and he said that Arians actually moved his secretary to a different office and put Wesley in an office right next to him, so he could be close by him, because he had all these great ideas and everything. So my bottom line is, the people he's worked with and everybody in the department at Clemson has great respect, for him. Now, part of the reason the general public doesn't know much about him is because, it's the perfect example of the impact the media can have on a coach's, career. Dabo only allows the coordinators to do interviews. So Wesley's never done an interview until, I guess, he was on with Don Munson.
Yeah, with Don Munson yesterday. Yeah.
Show. Yeah. Probably the first time anybody heard him. So nobody's written stories about him. And so I'm sure there'll be a flock of them, coming up, and you'll get some stories about him from some of these other people who've worked with him.
So if you had seen him, let me ask you this, because I think our listeners will be fascinated by your answer. Maybe, maybe not. If you had seen him walking around the office, would you have said, "Oh, that's Wes Goodwin. I know exactly who this guy is"?
Oh, well, I knew him because I worked in, he worked there when I was the SID. So I guess I'm not sure the answer, which way
I
you're
guess,
asking this
like,
question.
you got like the staffers who are just collecting the footballs during the games and people like that, just the guys that are helping out. I mean, did people like you know, hey, this guy is an integral part of what Clemson's doing? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Okay, well, I guess you're asking it just pure appearance if you just saw him and just walked into the facility. From that standpoint, yes, he's the Hunter Renfro of coaches. If you looked at Hunter Renfro, and where Hunter Renfro was with Derek Carr somewhere, the quarterback, and somebody thought he was Derek Carr's son or something, and I'll tell you a funny story about Hunter Renfro. When he was a freshman and playing, I was with my lady friend Kay Davis, and we were on an elevator at the bowl game, and Hunter got on, and when he got off, she asked, who does he belong to? Meaning, which coach's son is he? And I said, that's Hunter Renfro. He's one of the guys of the team. And she said, no.
I mean,
so
you're not lying.
Yeah, Wesley is not this big strapping former defensive linebacker that you think of when you see a lot of defensive coordinators. But when you're coaching, that's a very small part of it. The X's and O's and the brains behind it is important. Now it is, just to be perfectly blunt, he doesn't have a lot of experience recruiting, although he has been involved with when guys come on campus. So that'll be something he'll gain more experience with as we go along.
I think it's one of the most fascinating hires, not just in Clemson history, maybe in college football history, given where Clemson's program currently resides in the pecking order of college football. Wesley Goodwin. This is going to be interesting to watch during the bowl game, certainly next year. And I thought it was funny. I did chuckle when Dabo Swinney was asked, will Wes need a get-back guy? And Swinney said, no, he will not need a get-back guy. So I thought that was perfect. Tim, always appreciate your insight. I do. I think maybe Dabo Swinney one-upped himself by hiring a more obscure name than even he was, perhaps, when he took over at Clemson. But we'll see how it goes for him. He's made a lot of great moves during his tenure there in Tiger Town.
Yeah, everybody was kind of had the same attitude when when we changed offensive coordinators at the end of 2014, and when Chad left to go to SMU, and he promoted from within there, and that worked out pretty good. We went 89-10 with Tony and Jeff running the offense after having been promoted.
Yeah, it seemed to work out. I think Coach Swinney may know what he's doing. All right, Tim.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Thank you for being a part all year. We're off next week, obviously, with the bowl game looming. We'll work out our schedule there, and cannot wait to catch up with you again.
Sounds good, Lawton. Good to talk to you.
Again, follow him on Twitter at Tim Bourret.